going with for the Gators.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I was just checking to see if you were listening.
From Cheyenne, Louisiana. Hold on a second. Hey, guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you.
Momentum, excitement, energy. They say all this stuff and you know what they mean, but it doesn't describe what you mean. It's just sort of out there.
You got barbecue back there and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
I was just worried about, listening to, all your guys' rap poison.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. Here are your hosts, Sergio and Tyler.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And today, Tyler, we are going to talk all about what happened in the college football world during week 7 of the college football season. We had a banger of a game out west between Washington and Oregon. We had some primetime shenanigans going on, and I'm not talking about Deion Sanders. I'm talking USC Notre Dame.
Although we will talk about Deion Sanders.
We will talk about Deion Sanders in a bit as well. You caught up on our year-long, season-long 5-wide and 2-point competition. You were catching up.
Just a little bit. Un poquito.
My attempt at shaving points did not go well, apparently. So, you
had to wake up pretty early in the morning to get that one past me.
Exactly. Listeners, today I the behind the scenes on that one is that right before we started recording, Tyler was like, "Hey man, you under gave me points on 5-wide." I was like, "What are you talking about? I gave you the 6 points. I just did the math wrong." So the score now is 40-35. I am leading. Tyler is down 5, but I originally put 40-34. My fault. Honest mistake. Tyler was correct on that. After we go through those 5-wide games, Tyler, we'll talk about the rest of what happened throughout the country and around the nation, why I believe it was a fantastic weekend in the SEC. We will then go into some big-time games for Week 8, Tyler. We got some big boys coming up. And we have, as Stephen Godfrey of Split Zone Duo would say, we probably have an anxiety bowl happening in the 5-wide and 2-point. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then, of course, the Gators are 5-2 heading into the bye week. We will, instead of taking like a drive-by through Florida Corner, Tyler, I think we might get down at the gas station and grab a couple drinks at Florida Corner. We might have to
get a lottery card while you're at it.
Might as well, right? Play the lotto the way the season's been
Fill
going.
up the tires with air.
We'll have some conversations.
Get some premium gas.
Absolutely. We'll have some conversations about the Gators a little longer than usual, so we will let you know at the end there. But first, Tyler, let's begin with 5-wide and 2-point. Let's start with the game of the year.
Game of the year.
You think so? Was this better? Was this better than the Texas-Alabama game? I think so.
Yes.
And there was one more game.
You can argue Texas-Oklahoma was better. I'd hear it.
You could argue.
I think this was better, though.
I think it was better simply because of the atmosphere. And, of course, if you missed it, we're talking Washington 36, Oregon 33. Tyler and I both get the points on that one. We picked Washington to win the game. It was in Seattle. Game day was there. This was a back-and-forth affair, fantastic game, as advertised from both sides. Tyler, what did you see from this game? And we will get to the 4th down conversion conversation in a second. But other than that, what did you think of the game as a whole, offense and defense for both teams?
I saw 2 playoff caliber teams. Is what I saw right there.
Absolutely.
And playing in the exact way that we predicted, and this made it so hard to predict this game, is that Oregon looked like the more balanced team. They had a good offense. Bo Nix kind of he was in the first half and then really turned it on in the third quarter, fourth quarter, distributing on the offense. This just reminded me, it's okay, Bo Nix is not necessarily an NFL draft quarterback, but he has turned into a really solid, even maybe great college quarterback, the way he's operating his offense. Oregon's defense showed out their line play. Them boys look like SEC over there. And that was all true. On the flip side, Washington had the trump card of they have the most elite passing offense in the country.
They have 4 NFL wide receivers.
And an
NFL caliber quarterback.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I heard Joel Klatt say this on the Herd, Colin Cowherd. Michael Penix Jr. is a great passer of the football, not just thrower, passer. He leads the ball, the receiver with the ball where it's supposed to go. He puts it in advantageous situations. He protects it.
Very Tua-esque, if you ask me.
Okay.
So We're at 4 minutes recording, which means we're at about 3 minutes of actual showtime. This might be a record as to when I'm pushing the agenda. Very happy with it. Please continue.
Yeah. So this game, it came down to the wire. My opinion of both teams is to borrow the phrase, they are who we thought they were. Like both, and I say this in a positive way. Both these teams are playoff contenders. Oregon now has a thinner margin, but I expect, honestly, for these two teams to face each other again.
And listen, these two teams facing in the title game of their conference in Las Vegas sounds like my ideal weekend experience is what it is.
Excellent uniform game, first of all.
The Oregon
eggshell,
just take a bow.
And Washington has just always had great uniforms.
And the purple contrast, so fantastic. I agree.
It was interesting strategically in this game if you look at it. Washington was able to run the ball more efficiently than they used to, than they usually do, because Oregon was going to let them do that, and they were actually able to punish them on the ground, opening up some of the passing lanes. Again, there's just not really a lot you can do, or when they've guys got multiple NFL wide receivers on the team and an NFL quarterback. That being said, Oregon's defense really bowed up in the second half until Washington had to have it. Oregon on offense, Bucky Irving is the MVP of that team, the running back, keeping the game. Bo Nix didn't play spectacularly, but he played well. He played efficiently. This game was really this thing. It's a 3-point game, and it showed. Oregon's kicker missed at the end, and I mean I would have loved overtime, but it was poetic that it ended that way as well. The thing in this game is Oregon making some mistakes. Now, I don't even mean making mistakes. This game is decided by a handful of plays that went Washington's way instead of going Oregon's way. I mean, a big one that went Oregon's way is that they stopped him on 4th and goal with 3 or 4 minutes left. That felt like, that might have been game.
I thought that was the. If you're playing chess, I thought that's when Oregon took Washington's queen. I was like, oh no, this is.
When are you getting another chance like that? Well,
exactly. When are you going to get a chance? But it seems like, and what ended up happening was that when they did drive down the field, they being Oregon, they just didn't make the kick. We joke and we make fun of, college kickers and all these things. But listen, man, it was a 43-yarder. It wasn't a 50-something yard field goal. But when this is a serious rivalry. And when both teams go into this game knowing how big of a game it is, and both teams leave the game knowing how big of a game it was, in that moment, I can understand why an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old is going to struggle a bit. I thought the kick was good up until the end when it kind of hooked over right.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I agree with your analysis, and I also believe that both of these quarterbacks, while Michael Penix Jr. definitely had the better game, and like you said, Bo Nix started off a little, I don't want to say started off rocky.
He did not play poorly. I just the
Washington defense played well early and showed him some things he wasn't expecting. But a good quarterback, he adjusted and he was able to get the offense going after that. I think both of these quarterbacks should end up in New York at the end of the season. They should be finalists, in my opinion. But we do have to talk about the 4th down decisions, right? There were 3 plays in this game where Oregon went for it on 4th down. And they did not get it any time. But personally, and I know that I'm the one that works in sports data and all this stuff, but I don't think those were bad decisions, with the exception of the second one that came at the end of the first half, where he could have gotten 3 points and walked into halftime up 3, which, if you want to play the coulda, shoulda, woulda game, those 3 points would have helped him at the end. But I also want to point out that Oregon went for 2 on the first drive of the game, which allowed them to be in a position to tie the game with a field goal to finish. People forget that. We had the conversation about going for it on 4th down and when is it appropriate, when is it not appropriate, when should you, what happens if you get it, if you don't, all of these conversations. But we never talk about when it actually works in their favor. And this is the thing that Richard Johnson said on Split Zone Duo. Process over results.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult to say, oh my gosh, bad decision, we lost the game. Yes, you never want to lose a game, and there's always a winner and a loser. But I think what Dan Lanning is doing is, hey, this is our identity. right? This is how we're going to play games. We are going to win this way. We are going to lose this way. And I think that it's something that we have been missing in college sports specifically. We're looking at coaching chess matches here. That's what we saw in this game.
And that's honestly one of the coolest things about this. It's not just a collection of talent. It's two really good coaches and two programs.
Programs, top to bottom.
It's in two good programs. It feels, and it definitely feels like this for Oregon, because they're more built on the fact that their roster is so good.
Yeah. And we're used to seeing this type of construction in the SEC and the association of they look like an SEC team. So, you know,
so like, I can understand to be like, oh, maybe this is just a special team for Washington because it's built off the back of a special talent. But Kalen DeBoer is an excellent head coach and has been an excellent head coach at every place that he's gone to. So I like, this is just two great programs. I will say that I will defend every one of Dan Lanning's fourth down decisions.
Even the one.
That's the only one where I'm like, because what I don't defend in that situation is the play call. I don't think cutting the field in half in the red zone is a good idea.
That is an important distinction too, because the decision to go for it is one decision. And then when you make that, the play call is a complete other. You can criticize the play call, but the decision to go for it.
That's an excellent third down play call. That's an excellent of like, get it out of your hands so you don't lose time, like all yada, yada, yada. And, you know, it's been talked about, like the thing with going for it on 4th and goal is that you don't get the benefit of pitting the other team back there because the half's going to be over, you know? And
in that scenario,
it's like if the half's ending, you don't get the benefit of, if it's 4th and goal and we don't get it, they're at the 1 yard line. Right. However, like you said, process of results. This is Dan Lanning does this, and if he had made it, we would not be talking about this. We would say, what a gutsy call. And that's the thing. I do think that one's the only one where I was like, and it feels weird because they lost by 3.
Yeah.
You can't win the game in the second quarter, but I don't know. That honestly is 50-50.
Lost the game in the second quarter either.
They didn't lose the game there, in my opinion. Yeah. Like you could have, would have, should have the whole thing, but the games take like 60 minutes of football. And there were 30 minutes of football after that. Exactly. And so my thing, I honestly think that one's a 50-50. Because I know Dan Lanning said that was the only one he would have wanted back. And because I definitely, the fourth quarter, like when you have to go for it, because the whole thing is that like you have a chance to ice the game.
I'm not punting in my opponent's territory.
I'm not. This is the thing. You have a chance to not give Michael Penix the ball to end the game, and you will give him a shorter field if you don't get it. You should do that. Like you should try to don't give it to the other team.
Yeah. Again, we can have a conversation about the play call execution. We can have a conversation about what's the right decision in those situations. But ultimately, I think Oregon is, I don't want to say they're comfortable losing this way because they're never comfortable losing, but I think Dan Lanning is okay. We just didn't execute the way we should have, you know? So,
you know, the best way to put it, nothing in that game makes me believe that Oregon couldn't win that game.
Yes.
In December. Yes. There's absolutely nothing on there that makes me believe Oregon can't match up with Washington. No, Oregon and like Oregon's, neither team will get a home field advantage if they play it again.
Yeah,
it is just like I won't even know who to pick if they play again in December. Washington won this round of it. Like
I'm more confident in Oklahoma and Texas having a rematch, and I'm very excited to see that rematch because we're pretty certain or confident that that's going to be the case in the Big 12. It may not be the case in the Pac-12 because it's a deeper conference and a better conference, and Utah is still out there. But if they were to meet again, this is instantly the most. I can't do anything else. Don't bother me. I need to watch this game again. If we get another round of this with a conference title and a de facto guaranteed appearance in the playoff berth in the playoffs again, that's must-watch TV. And wow, like. Once again, aplausos to the Pac-12. I mean, making the most of their situation. So glad that they're going out with a bang like this. Yes, this was the two of the programs going to the Big Ten, I'm aware, but it's just nice that we can get that attention on the West Coast, you know? It's nice for them.
Yeah.
Let's move from two West Coast teams that we hope end up in the big Pac-12, I'm just going to say Big Ten, Pac-12 championship game. to the team that, if that happens, is probably the odd one out, and that's USC. They fell to Notre Dame 48-20. I got the point on this one. Tyler, I may have gotten the point in 5 wide, but you may be vindicated in a certain.
I was. You took the words out of my mouth. I may have lost the point in this day, but I won the narrative. Vindication is how I'm feeling this morning. Look, I said I put it out there on this podcast. I went on the limb. I also put it out on Twitter. Caleb Williams is closer to Zach Wilson than Patrick Mahomes, and y'all need to be prepared for that conversation. It's crazy. Caleb Williams, when he doesn't get to dance around for 10 seconds and find a receiver coming open because defenders can't cover for that long, kind of looks like he struggles a bit. And I'm going to quote a YouTube comedy video here of that, like, if high school football coaches were honest. No credit to Notre Dame. No credit to the other team. They didn't do anything. That's not true. But
is that the video where the dude is like, I mean, what you want me to do? I have a job to do. I call the plays. They're good plays. I got horrible players. They can't.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's hilarious video.
No credit to the other team. They're awful too. No,
okay,
I really. I
should give credit to the other team, though.
I was more of a joke. I actually am going to give credit to Notre Dame. Well, now what's interesting here, though, is that like USC's defense really wasn't that much the problem today. They didn't have an opportunity to really be the problem, is the best way I would say it. Because Notre Dame's offense was okay, but they were working. They had the answers to the test because their defense gave them 3 turnovers. I no other way about it. Caleb Williams and the offensive line lost this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Caleb Williams is only, to me, it seems like he can only get the ball out quick when they call a screen. Like when Caleb Williams has to go 1, 2, 3, throw, make a quick read, process, he doesn't do it. He's slow going through them, and then he just sits there and be like, well, if I wait, someone will come open. It's Zach Wilson. Now, I want to clarify. I'm not condemning Caleb Williams is not good, because he's very talented. And we saw quarterbacks, even in college, can improve, can change. The whole book on C.J. Stroud for Ohio State was that he couldn't handle pressure. Then he started to be able to handle pressure in the Georgia game, and now look at him. He's handling pressure like a maniac.
He's arguably the best rookie.
Oh, he is currently the best rookie quarterback. So it's like these are not an indictment, like, because once he gets to the league, I don't know if you can fix these things. But
I think I don't know. Let me just go ahead.
Let me just finish what I was going to say, and then
go ahead. Sorry.
This is just highlighting. I'm like, this is the flaw. This is the way you get it, and this is where he's got to improve.
Before he was invincible, now there's something that you can pin on.
This is the weakness. This is the kryptonite. Is that if you have a good defensive line and you don't give him 10 seconds to dance around, he's not making those reads. And it's more so, this is just more so a problem for Lincoln Riley to have to fix, which I think he can, because the whole thing for most of his offenses was like, his play designs are so good that if you just make the right read, you'll get it out quick. Caleb Williams is kind of an outlier in that fact. Like, Baker and Kyler and Jalen Hurts can extend plays, but they were very good processors and things like that. So
three NFL starting quarterbacks. You went, I mean, they're fine and stuff, but like Caleb. Sorry.
It's like, I actually don't buy into the whole Caleb Williams is better than all 3 of those guys. I don't, like, we don't know.
College, OU Baker was a menace.
One of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen.
Like it's up there with, I don't think it's better than, I want to emphasize before I say this, I don't think it's better than the Cam Newton Auburn year.
No.
But it's in the same tier. It's below it, but I do believe it's in like elite college quarterback seasons. Baker's 2017, I believe.
I still believe 2017 Baker, if they beat Georgia, they would have beaten Alabama.
I agree.
I still believe that. And that's how crazy the college football would be and the narrative would be. The point is, I've talked enough. You had something you wanted to say.
I just wanted to push back a little bit on the Caleb Williams not being able to read as much. I think one of Caleb Williams' strengths, and I said this last week, Caleb Williams' dissection of the defense and ability to read coverage before the snap is the best in college football. And to be honest, is some of the best that I've seen from someone not in the NFL. like when we were hyping up Trevor Lawrence, I think Caleb reads a defense before the snap better than Trevor that year. I really do think before the snap. Definitely.
Okay. Well, no. I was going to push back because I believe that Trevor's pre-snap process is one of his best traits. But I'm talking about him now, not
exactly.
like so. That's why I swallowed those words.
Yeah. It's like I was going to make a Jacksonville joke. Never mind.
No, you want to watch it, buddy.
Hey, listen, no. You guys beat the Bills for us. I'm eternally grateful. No, but seriously, that's to me one of his best qualities, Caleb Williams. So it's a little bit like jarring to see a performance like we did on Saturday where you're right. He couldn't make the reads after the snap. And who knows, maybe that might be the most intense environment that he's been in this season for sure. And maybe since he was... Did he play Red River that one year at Oklahoma?
Yeah.
He did. And maybe then... But even then, that's a neutral site game, so you have your own fans there. This Notre Dame, this was... You went to South Bend at night. Like that's a big deal. Much as we I make fun of Notre Dame, they got a great environment.
It is an environment.
That nighttime Saturday night game is on my bucket list. I'd love to experience it. So
NBC does a bad job of showing it, but it is a good environment.
Oh my god! And one of the worst like broadcasts.
They just consistently outdo themselves. Be like, how can we drain the life out of this broadcast more?
I need to record the Notre Dame home games and play them as I go to bed, just so I can like
play ASMR.
Oh my god! I know.
And that's another pick by Caleb Williams. This Notre Dame defense is really showing out.
Listen, but credit to Notre Dame. And also, last thing, we'll move on. We've spent a lot of time on these games, but I do think that this was big for Notre Dame. Like we talked about it, how they had a gauntlet of 4 games. They went 2-2. They obviously would have liked to go on 4-0 or 3-1, but getting a big win like this against a traditional rival like USC, very important. Good for them going forward.
Big for Marcus Freeman, and it's big for Marcus Freeman to have won in this way because this was Marcus Freeman beat Lincoln Riley.
This was
his side of the ball beat Lincoln Riley's side of the ball pretty handily,
decisive.
And
made his crown jewel Heisman Trophy winning quarterback look like he didn't know what he was doing.
And it's unfortunate for Caleb Williams' second back-to-back Heisman campaign. Did not look great that this came on the backs of
Michael Penix Jr.
right after Michael Penix did what he did. And that's the thing. There's like because Notre Dame's offense was fine, kept the lead going, but Notre Dame's defense won this game for them, and USC's offense kind of lost it for them. Caleb Williams made some really bad turnovers. The offensive line was not able to hold up. It's been really, I think people said, it's been really hard to evaluate how good USC's offensive line is because they really haven't played anyone with a good defensive line. They finally did, and it was not good. Now, are most of the defenses they're going to play as good as Notre Dame's? Probably not, but there are some that are better that are coming up on their schedule.
We'll talk about that later on in the episode.
So this is what we were talking about. Where it's like we're not really considering USC as a serious playoff contender, but they could still make a lot of noise. Is the thing,
and they could turn things around and potentially play for the Pac-12 title. Like it's not over for them.
That's the thing. I say all this about Caleb Williams because I really am just trying to slow down the insane hype train that we always do with the next new quarterback that's out. I did it with Trevor Lawrence, even though I got him and I was very happy about that. But
Jacksonville Jesus,
you know it. My girlfriend has been watching the games with me, and she starts calling him Sunshine now, which I have explained.
She's calling him Sunshine,
which I have explained that he doesn't like, but I like that it's a way it keeps her engaged. So I'm like,
I just
you should
love
keep doing
that
it.
Was her association without any of us saying anything on her own. I love that so much.
Oh man,
we
were watching. I was like, look at his hair. And she's like, look at his arms. I was like, all right, calm down. You're not allowed to watch these games with me anymore.
Whoa.
Anyway, the point being, you still have one of the best quarterbacks in college football. You have a better tool in your toolbox than most teams could ask for. And Lincoln Riley is your coach. You can turn this around on the offensive side of the ball. Sure. If Lincoln Riley just goes like, hey, Caleb, okay, we did this. We need to start building in the quick reads. We need to start building in those parts of it. Then that's going to solve a lot of issues. And USC is still Lincoln Riley's offense is still run based at its core. It kind of people don't realize that, but it is a run-based offense. They kind of had to abandon that for a large part of this game.
Yeah.
But everything's built off
Mike
that.
McDaniel.
So
It's like Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins.
Absolutely.
It's a run-based offense,
Yeah.
But all right, let's move forward.
Yeah.
UNC 41, Miami 31. We both get the points on this one. Okay, so when
Speaking of
Walker,
quarterbacks.
speaking of quarterbacks, Tez Walker, the whole Mac Brown blowing up a few weeks ago, we did that episode, and we talked about how Mac Brown just eviscerated the NCAA. I get it. I understand why now.
I usually it's just like, I mean,
completely understand why.
usually I was like, it's good that they're fighting for their player. I'm glad for him. Bro.
And then I watched him play football and went, oh,
that's why they were caving for this guy.
And when you pair him up with someone like Drake May, it looks good. Now this is a story of two halves, right? This is two games in one. The first half, I thought Miami dominated. They got after Drake May. The defense, remember earlier in the season, I told you this Miami defense is not the 03-01. Obviously, there aren't 5 NFL Hall of Famers on that defense, but I told you they're getting that aggressiveness back that I grew up on and hearing stories on and watching and all these things. And that showed in the first half. Miami went after them. They did a really good job. And then I don't know who said what in the North Carolina locker room, but them boys came out ready for war, and they just took it to Miami. It wasn't even a game. I know there was only a 10-point game here, but like at the final score,
not really. It wasn't really like
this game was over 7 minutes into the third when UNC comes out and scores like 3 straight times, explosive plays. It was over, and it looked really good. And with Tez Walker at wide receiver and Drake May at quarterback, watch out. And I looked at their schedule, and it's not a very difficult one. Their toughest games coming up are
they're getting better.
Clemson, and then what we presume to be an ACC championship matchup against Florida State. So, they look good.
They're getting better.
They do. They look really.
They are getting better. I want to give a lot of credit to Miami and specifically Tyler Van Dyke because like they're talented. They've still been able. That Georgia Tech game was weird, but they have still.
Don't say.
I don't want to spend too much time again on that, but they have consistently been able to throw the ball pretty well this season. And like Tyler Van Dyke, no idea what his NFL prospects really are, but like he can throw a deep ball. And that's what they've been connecting on. They were able to get some of that going in the second half as they were trying to get back into it. But yeah, I really think it's not really about Miami to me. This is about UNC being like, oh, no, we're taking our next step. And we gave a lot of criticism. I actually was re-listening to some of our old episodes. We were, for quality assurance. And I was like, Drake May had not really been playing well. They've been focusing on the running game. They were still winning by what? And now they're combining a defense that has started to play better, a rushing attack that's been good all season, with Drake May really starting to show out. He was previously just doing what he needed to win. And now, and this is the area where Drake May is better than Caleb Williams, is that like he's pretty good about that, making that decision quickly. Now it helps that he's got a really good offensive system, playmakers and coordinator and everything. But he's deep ball. They are connecting. He instantly showed that connection with Tez Walker. It really, again, Miami's good, but this wasn't about them. Like,
well, you know what else helps Notre Dame, UNC.
What?
When somehow, some way, Gene Chizik revives the defense coming back from the grave. This isn't 2015 Florida, okay? Which I am on record saying is the best college football defense of all time. I will die on that hill. At least top 5, but like one of the best, hands down. I'll die on the hill. What's the Japanese like suicide thing?
Seppuku?
I will seppuku on that take. Absolutely. Anyway, my point being, the defenses for North Carolina is playing really, really well, and I think that is something that is kind of going below the radar because there's a Heisman contender at quarterback, because Tez Walker came in and decided that he was 2019 LSU Jamar Chase. You know what I mean? Like, it's like stuff is happening on the offense side of the ball, and it's exciting. But the defense is playing well, and I know 31 points Miami putting up isn't like the best indicator of
so much of that was late though.
Garbage time, backups, and I just want to say, Miami fans, I understand that you have the horrible loss to Georgia Tech, and then you follow it up. You play a really good first half, and then you kind of, poo-poo the bed in the second. But I would be happy with where the team is at right now. Apart from bonehead mistake from Mario, right, in the Georgia Tech game, you were just the second half is pretty much the worst thing that you've done. You had a tough game on the field in terms of your production against Georgia Tech, but you won the game. You were going to get out of there saying, "Ooh, okay, we struggled, but hey, we won." Great teams win the games where they struggle. And that's what you did in Georgia Tech. Your coach just let you down. And then in this case, you went up against, at a minimum, the second best team in the conference, against a Heisman contender, against what we see now as one of the best wide receivers in the country. Marvin Harrison Jr. He might give Marvin Harrison Jr. a run for his money. Still too early. We got to see, whatever. But in terms of production and prospect, like, he's really good. Tez Walker. You get all those things. Don't be too down on yourself. And I'm being 100% serious here. I'm not trying to troll as a Florida fan, all this stuff, South Florida resident, all these things. Be happy with where you are now. If this stuff continues in year 3 and 4 of Mario, then you can kind of hit the panic button of what are we paying for? What are we doing? But there is still turnover in this program. So let it build. You're on a good spot right now. Your goal should be to win the ACC games you have, finally win a home ACC game, because they're 0-5 in 2 years. Mario hasn't won a home conference game, Tyler. Make sure you check that off the list and get to a point where
home conference game.
Yep, he's 0-5, and he's now he was 3-1, so he's now 3-2 on the road in the conference, and he's 0-5 at home in his year and a half. Crazy, I know. Point being, focus on the conference, and literally, seriously, like a Citrus Bowl appearance, you can win 9-10 games and make a big time bowl game, and that should be a good season for right now. So that's just what I'm saying here. So last 2 games of 5 wide and 2 point, not much to say here. LSU 48, Auburn 18. This was just a beating.
Yeah,
we ain't got to go through this.
LSU defense is still not good. Auburn's offense is just not good enough to do anything with that.
Exactly.
And Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in the SEC.
He's another one that when I had this game on the 4-box when I came home, I was by myself. I was watching some games that I knew other people weren't going to watch. So I didn't Irish exit, but I definitely left a little early, and I got a call from a family member. It was like, "Oh, come over. I know you haven't had dinner." And I'm like, actually, I would love to be by myself right now. LSU Auburn was one of the games in the 4-box, and they were talking about Jalen Daniels. So I moved it over, the audio part. And they were legit talking like, hey, if LSU turns it around and this and that, like he could be a Heisman contender.
I actually had that thought. Like,
I think like he's playing like it. He is the best player on this team. He is showing the things that I bought into when he was at Arizona State all those years ago.
Yeah.
It's like retribution for me, in that sense. So, But LSU dominates. And then the last game in 5 wide, Oregon State 36, UCLA 24. Hey man, DJ looks good. DJ looks capital G good. Clemson fans are probably watching Oregon State games punching the air. Like, why couldn't he play?
And we like Cade Klubnik too.
I like Cade Klubnik a lot. This is a situation where like it was better for both sides. I do think that Clemson is in a good position letting Cade Klubnik get these snaps this entire season for next year, which is clearly when they're going to try to strike again. And then it's also good for DJ to go out there to a contender and play for a quarterback guru like Jonathan Smith. And, I think it's a good idea. Jonathan Smith putting Chip Kelly in hell. So you get the point on that, Tyler. And then for 2 points, I picked Wyoming to beat Air Force. It did not happen. Air Force won 34-27. Very proud of Wyoming, though. Put up a fight. Air Force definitely looks like the best team in the Mountain West, especially if Mikey Keene is injured for Fresno State. He didn't play this week. We'll get to that in a bit. So I didn't get the points there. And then
America's team, Air Force, by the way.
America's team, that's what we're calling them?
Are you disrespecting the troops?
I am not disrespecting the troops. I'm just choosing to not buy into a military-industrial
complex.
Yeah,
well, I salute you, sir.
I salute you. I thank you for your service. Is that what you're going to say?
That was the correct answer. That was a trick question, and you answered correctly.
Thank you very much. Just like the trick question with the NCAA is, why don't we let James Madison play in the postseason?
This is really America's team.
And this is so. When you said that, I thought you were doing a transition to JMU. And I was like, in my head, I was like, Tyler, that was golden. I love that transition.
I'm just putting a little window dressing. I'm the Miami Dolphins offense, like just doing a lot of motions, a little disguise.
Speaking of Dolphins, still perfect. James Madison 41, Georgia Southern 13. Tyler gets the points here. This was just domination. I watched this game going, I wonder if Georgia Southern, and by the time I got to that point in the sentence, James Madison already scored. So it was like, oh, okay, I guess not.
Hey, Georgia Southern is good too. So
they are good. They are good.
Yeah.
It's just
James Madison's just
go Dukes. Go Dukes.
Dukes.
The score to date, 40. Myself, Sergio, those are the points I have. Tyler has 35. So it's close. We got some work to do here. I like to see it.
Coming.
Okay. All right. Let's go around the nation real quick before we dive into the games this week. I do want to spend some time at Florida Corner, so we will go a little quicker with these than we have in the past. We begin in the SEC because, in my opinion, the SEC, this was
Interesting.
the conference of the week for me, in my opinion. We got a lot of storylines that were told. Georgia 37, Vanderbilt 20. This has two big storylines in it. Number one, Vandy dropping 20 points, and like it was a game into the fourth. Like a legit
Well, part
game.
of that is from a pick six, but yes.
Still, defense plays.
But it was a pick six that got them within like 10 points. And
Right, which is like, whoa. You didn't expect that. And then the unfortunate news is Brock Bowers goes down with an ankle injury. It was reported today, Monday, October 16th, when we're recording, that he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks.
This is huge to me.
On multiple. I like how you said to me, because I know exactly what you mean by that, Tyler.
Well, yeah. I also don't want to misrepresent that people are going to be like, yeah, but it's still Georgia. And I'm like, no, man, like he is important to them.
And we also want to emphasize, Tyler, you and I do. We never, ever, ever hope for injuries. This is we hope he recovers. He's got an NFL future ahead of him. We hope he recovers, secures the bag, all those things.
Yeah.
But through the eyes of a Florida fan, this makes the world's largest outdoor cocktail party a lot more interesting. And we will talk about that at Florida Corner. I want to put a pause on that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in Florida Corner. But that's the story coming out of that game. Alabama 24, Arkansas 21. Alabama was up and dominating, and Arkansas came back. The KJ Jefferson throw in the fourth quarter to the corner where he went over the linebackers, split the two safeties, outside shoulder. Take a bow, KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Arkansas just does not know how to win games. They know how to compete for sure, but they don't know how to win games.
Yeah.
Alabama, the only passing play that you should be allowed to call if you're Tommy Reese is 4 verticals. It's the only play that Jalen Milroe has like a 100% success rate with.
Pretty.
Like,
if it works, it works.
Alabama is it's very clear what Alabama is right now. They can run the ball. They have a great vertical passing attack. They can only hit home runs with it. They cannot hit singles and doubles. Now, that's going to work for most of the teams they're in, but they've won a lot of their games lately have been really close. They're not breaking 30 points.
And listen, I want to put a pin on the Alabama conversation.
Yeah.
Hold it for next week.
We'll punt it for next week.
We'll punt it
We're
for
going
next
to be doing a lot more of that this year. So.
That was really good. Two things of this game before. They both come from the press conference. Did you see Sam Pittman after the game where they were like, you keep losing these 3-point games, this and that, whatever. And he was like, hey, man, we were double-digit underdogs against Bama, and we lost by 3, came back and had a great game. Yeah, it was unfortunate we lost, but, basically cut me some slack, dude. I was in Tuscaloosa, and I was like, you know what, Sam? I'm on your side.
I'm kind of on the side there. You gotta acknowledge what Arkansas is historically.
Exactly. You should be, what a coaching job by Sam Pittman is what you should be saying.
Yeah.
That, and then also, did you see Nick Saban talking about describing KJ Jefferson?
No, I didn't.
So there's a play in that game where KJ Jefferson literally it looks like he's gonna get sacked, and he literally do-si-dos and circles and just throws the Bama defender off of him, and then runs a bootleg to throw the ball. And Nick Saban was like, I don't know what to do. In the post-game presser, he was like, they got an athlete at quarterback. I have no idea how to stop him. He is incredible. I don't know what to do. He was like, he made some weird analogy where it was like, he's like, he's like getting through, what, in a tin can, the old reference that he makes kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God, he was a pain in my butt. But it was obviously, that's the biggest compliment Saban can give anyone. So
yeah.
Nice to hear.
Yeah.
Tennessee 20, Texas A&M 13. Tennessee run game confirmed.
Yeah, their passing offense is really not. It's so interesting because they're still running the same scheme, which means you have to respect the passing offense because they put so many wide receivers, they stretch you out so much, but they're really not even caring about that this year. Like it's just used to allow them to run the football better, and they are running it really well lately. And also, Texas A&M is not coached very well, so there's that.
This is it's a matter of when, not if, in terms of the Jimbo Fisher situation. Better start adjusting your gasoline budgets.
Gas prices have been going up out here.
They're about to go up. They're about to go up. That, and then I just wanted to say credit to Josh Heupel. That is like credit to him. That's a great way to adapt and know how to coach and doing a good job. Seems like he learned a lot since he left UCF and his time at Tennessee. And then last thing, because the Tennessee running game is so good, I think I have a much higher opinion of the Florida run defense. Let's move forward. Missouri 38, Kentucky 21. I texted you in the middle of this game saying this is sneaky the best game of the day. It was not the best game of the day, but it was a fun game nonetheless. Yeah. Missouri's legit. For capital sure. G good, capital L legit. Scary hours for us Florida fans. It's tight. It's tight. And Missouri still hasn't played Georgia yet. I'm going to be very excited to see that game. Yeah, so I'll leave that at that because, oh boy. And then Florida 41, South Carolina 39. Statement victory. This was sorely needed for Billy Napier Express that operates this podcast.
Needed like air, needed like water. Like
statement win. We're hoping it's a program direction changing win. We're hoping. We have to wait and see. What did you think of the game? What were your opinions?
I have so many thoughts.
Shout out to Eugene Wilson III.
Yes.
For we know who's really good at the tip drill because
shout out Khalil Jackson legacy game. Shout out Ricky Pearsall, future New England Patriot.
Stop it.
Sorry, future Miami Dolphin.
Please. Just not the pay. I just don't want him in my division. If he doesn't go to the Dolphins, I don't want him in the AFC East. I don't want to face him twice a year.
Point is, by far the most. So let's talk about here. It seems like, and I don't know if getting there a day earlier mattered really to winning this game, but the change in process by Billy Napier mattered. I don't know how, but we talked a lot about it. They were so terrible on the road. They'd only ever won that Texas A&M game last year. Billy Napier recognized there was a problem, did what he could to fix it. Now, I don't know if that's what did it, but Florida took the hits and kept delivering. The offense came out. Here's the best way I can say this. This team looked prepared, at least on the offensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, they were prepared. They knew what they were doing. They never went into a shell. Graham Mertz, best game, I think, of his career.
You buried the lead. This is the Graham Mertz apology tour in terms of 100%. We all need to apologize to Graham. We, the collective Florida football fan base, need to apologize to Graham Mertz. This is I apologize. I was not familiar with your game moment.
Yes.
What a game.
Threw for over 400 yards, multiple touchdowns.
Like you said, game of his career. I agree.
Behind that, leaky offensive line. And this is a situation. A big question that Florida had is like, this team so clearly just wants to run the ball and pass off of that. And in this game, they fully said, like, no, we're going to win throwing the ball. And we're still going to run because we have amazing running backs and occasionally can really move the ball on the offensive line. But it's like, no, we are going to pass vertically to win. That was the game plan. They didn't have to check to that game plan.
Right.
That was their plan. And it worked. And it allowed them to keep going and keep getting kudos to Trey Smack as well. His only miss of the game being on a block.
Leg.
Smacked at. Moving on. Just excellent by the whole team.
All I could think of is convict music. That's it. Okay.
there's so many things to go around. Arliss Boardingham continues to really start to learn the position at tight end. Florida has the wide receiver
The
talent
most
this
anxiety
year.
I have ever had in my life in a 2-second span was that touchdown.
Catching that touchdown.
Oh my God. I was like, what is going on?
But
Lord.
this was the blueprint. Like the Tennessee game was the blueprint. This is in the blueprint for Billy Napier. These are now South Carolina's not very good. No. So we have to acknowledge that this is not beating Georgia or anything like that. But this is a step that this team did not seem to be able to take. And the big part is that they were taking punches in this game. Credit to South Carolina's offense. Really showed
Credit to who? Game. Credit to who, Tyler?
South Carolina's just entire offensive production.
Who specifically?
Mario Anderson, the South Carolina running back.
The Mario Anderson?
He tore apart Gators run. Pretty stout run defense. No, Spencer Rattler played fine, I guess, except when it mattered.
Really good. Really good. I'll give it to you. You were on brand in that sense.
I was texting in the group the entire time. As a renowned Spencer Rattler hater, I'm in shambles. I'm down bad. This is so bad for me. And
played well.
When he threw that interception, I was so happy. No, well, this is the type of game that I think we would have expected Tennessee to want to put on us. Big arm quarterback, just throwing all over the place. But that's the thing. Florida on the offensive side of the ball came prepared, woke up. On the defensive side of the ball, doesn't look like they weren't prepared because they weren't really committing penalties. They weren't really it was a bad matchup and it was a bad day. And I heard somebody say they believe that the stats, maybe the Gator defense was overperforming in the first part of the season, and this is more closer to who they are. I think it's a mix of the two.
A regression to the mean.
I think it's a mix of the two. This defense is not great at forcing turnovers, but turnovers are so fluky, is the thing. What's not fluky is pressure, sack rate, things like that. And in the second half, Florida's defense really started to pick up the pressure. And when it counted, they bowed up and made the plays.
And specifically, I want to mention one play, and then we'll move forward because we got a lot to cover. But specifically, that when it counted, the defense made the right play. At the end of the game, you saw Austin Armstrong come out to the field, almost get flagged because he was on the field, but basically calling out a coverage late and telling the players, shift. And they went, oh, okay. And the defense adapted like that. And they were able to call, I think it was like a pitch to the right or the left, whatever, but they were already adjusted to that side. And so they were able to stop it for, it was in that drive where we needed to get the ball back. The defense was, playing well.
Yeah.
And top to bottom, great performance. I agree.
It's just
very happy with
and also to do this while your team is so young.
Yes,
is
and
important
with so many true freshmen.
This is and I don't want to get lost in the hype of this win. It's very important. It was a huge victory. This is still the back half of the schedule is still super tough, and
we'll talk about that when we get to the Florida quarter. Sure. Last thing there, though.
One last thing. Buckley Williams was in attendance of this game.
Coincidence?
I don't think so. I don't think it was. Did you see those pants?
I saw those pants.
Checkerboard Gator pants? No.
Tennessee fans wish.
Argyle? You wish.
You wish. I was going to say that the play calling. Billy Napier play calling. I said in the group, I said Billy Napier either secretly passed off the play calling to someone and didn't say anything, or he heard us and said, bet, watch this. Because the play calling was fantastic in this game.
Yeah. And honestly, this thing is I don't even think it was too different. There was definitely a difference. They were calling plays differently for sure. And I think
there was an urgency and there was more of an emphasis to the no huddle. There was more an emphasis.
There's been a lack of urgency, especially on the road with this team, that I didn't have to. I always am texting "Donde está urgency?" I never had to text that once today. The urgency was there, and I think also I heard somebody say this: does having Trace Mack, who you now know is a reliable kicker from 50 yards out, change the way you call plays?
That's true.
I think it does. And
if he knows that anytime they're inside the 40, they have a chance to get points, that's a pretty big.
That changes the way you call the game.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we have to move on. Many more things to discuss.
I know, way too much time here, but all right, to the Pac-12 we go. Stanford 46, Colorado 43, double overtime. Colorado blew a 29-0 lead at halftime. Travis Hunter.
Got to pick a side.
So I'm not watching Monday Night Football because the Panthers are on. I have it in the background right now.
Nope.
But
Chargers.
I'm pretty sure
Chargers or Cowboys, not the Panthers.
the Florida Panthers.
Oh, the Florida Panthers. I was about to say the Panthers played your Dolphins on Sunday.
The Florida, yeah. What Panther? Come on, Tyler. It's hockey season. What are you doing?
I'm not.
Come on. But the point being, I have a hockey game on and not Monday Night Football, and I'm sure that Randy Moss before the game could have used like 7 or 8 clips from Travis Hunter in this game for "You Got Bossed," because oh boy, did that Stanford receiver. It was insane. I forget the guy's name, and they were all in the second half. He ended up with like 300 yards, 14 receptions, a touchdown. He had a 97-yard touchdown reception, and it was all in the second half. Insanity. It was a just crazy game to watch, and I just think it's once again an indicator that we need to slow down. That Deion is doing a lot of good at Colorado, a lot of good, and this year's already a success. But I think we just let's temper.
I think this is a necessary loss, in my opinion, because here's the thing: they lost to Oregon and USC, who were better rosters, nationally touted. They were close in the USC game too. All these things.
And they came back in the USC game.
This team probably still thinks of itself really highly until this game, and maybe okay, it's never good to take a loss. But this is one of those things where this might have been. This is not a type of loss they got before. You lost to a team that is worse. Like Stanford is a worse team than Colorado. Yes. There's no doubt.
This is a bad loss.
They lost because and actually on the Travis Hunter thing, I think they really got to figure out his pitch count because why Stanford's smart. Why wouldn't you go after the guy who's playing double the snaps of everybody else on the defense?
Absolutely.
He's going to be gassed, and that's exactly what happened. Did you see Deion's locker room?
I did not. I got a notification. I did not watch it.
The only thing really worth taking from it is that he ended it with be like, "And we practice in tomorrow."
Oh, okay.
Which was met with like a silence that was palpable.
Oh yeah.
So
that's one of those I felt that in here moments.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you have to also think this happened on a Friday night.
Yikes.
Look, I think that this will be good for Deion Sanders, Colorado. This is they were not going to be a title contending team this year. This is a good loss for them. Not a good loss. Deion, I have faith in, as I think he is a great motivator. He will turn this into something positive.
Yes, he knows how to use this. He never wants to lose, but he knows how to use a loss to motivate his team.
But more credit to Stanford than against Colorado. But this is a thing where Colorado's got to learn to be able to manage this kind of situation. Yeah. And that they've got a target on their back.
Yeah, for sure. Elsewhere in the Pac-12, Utah 34, Cal 14. Utah still dealing with a bunch of injuries, but I want to shelf Utah. We'll talk Utah at 5 Wide Preview because we got some thoughts. And then Arizona 44, Washington State 6. What happened here?
One side of it is that Fafita, Arizona's quarterback, is good. He's good.
Capital G good. We talked about him last week. Yeah, he's good.
That doesn't explain how Washington State was only able to score 6 points, which isn't Arizona scoring 44. I actually could see that's not the most shocking thing in the world, but 6. I don't know what happened. I texted you that I think Chip Kelly's defense broke this team.
I mean, that might be the only explanation. Right?
I don't know what else to say. I watched the highlights. I don't understand. Sometimes you just have a bad day, but jeez.
Well, speaking of just having a bad day, on Thursday night in the Big 12, Houston 41, West Virginia 39. Tyler, how did this game end?
Basically it ended with a Hail Mary. And
that was how this game ended, with Tyler K. Williams.
Look, I watched a lot of football, all right?
No, you're right. This was a fun, are you watching what's happening? Are you watching what's happening? This was like a classic Thursday night. Oh my God, this is so exciting.
What was so crazy is that West Virginia took the lead late. That was the whole thing. They had the moment. And then I'm pretty sure this was a West Virginia, through the Hail Mary, West Virginia did what you're taught to do and tried to bat the ball down, which ended up batting it into the hand of a Houston receiver.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Which I almost wonder is that even worth with tip drills these days? Is it just worth it? Just try and catch it?
You never know, dude. You might have to there. Both of these
Neil-
offenses did play a good game, though,
Yeah.
obviously with the amount of points that were scored. But these are two teams that, I don't know, Houston just doesn't look good. West Virginia, listen, Neil Brown saved his job this year.
He also saved Dana Holgerson's job for the time being.
Incredible. Imagine that, giving up the game to your replacement.
Public defender, Neil Brown.
So interesting there. Oklahoma State 39, Kansas 32. That was a little bit crazy. We didn't expect that to happen.
Mike
But
Gundy,
again,
man.
we said it last week. Mike Gundy, he knows how to get the best out of these kids, even if they don't like him. Because it doesn't seem like they like him.
Yeah, he's more old school in that way. Where it's just like you kind of hate your coach, but you guys win. So
yeah, I guess it's working. I don't know.
Hey, Kansas is still great. So
yeah,
Kansas is doing all this with a backup quarterback that is actually throwing a lot better than he should be because he's the running
doing a
quarterback.
good job at it. Yeah.
So
Iowa State.
They're still Kansas's thing. They're at a talent deficit in most games that they go into. So
I know. Iowa State 30, Cincinnati 10. This is great for the Tyler agenda. Fantastic.
I almost picked this in my 2-point last week, and it ended up working out. But I was actually, because this game was before the James Madison game, I was so upset because I was like, I knew Iowa State's defense was going to hold them down. I knew that their freshman quarterback was just going to give them enough. This is great for Matt Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Great for Matt Campbell.
Yeah, this is great. I'm living.
TCU 44, BYU 11. This was never a contest. This was over in the first quarter. And then you got Kansas State 38, Texas Tech 21. Kansas State, listen, it's not pretty, but they're getting results.
They've got 2 losses, and only one of them is in conference. They could crash the party.
They could.
They're pretty much the only team left who could.
Because they're yet to play both Oklahoma and Texas. Yeah. That's why they could crash the party. So
and they won it last year. So it's not looking pretty. They've got to figure some stuff out. But if there's a coach that can figure some stuff out in the season, it's Chris Kleiman.
Yeah, very true. To the ACC we go. FSU 41, Syracuse 3. Self-explanatory. There was a moment here where Jordan Travis injured his shoulder or his hand or whatever towards the end of the first half. Came out in the second and just slung it out again. It seems like he gets hurt every game, and then it's like, oh no, is he okay? And he comes out of the locker room and he's like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Heisman campaign. It is exactly what it is.
I truly think people aren't talking about his Heisman odds as much just because it's boring now because they've looked.
It's not sexy. It's not. It's
not anymore.
Okay. Yeah, it's all right, FSU, we get it. You're good. All right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is weird. Pittsburgh 38, Louisville 21. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Pitt sighting. Tyler, what's the rule? What's the rule? The Pitt principle. What do we define it as? Anything, Tyler, can happen in a game where Pitt is participating.
Literally on the spot there.
Literally anything.
I didn't know how to describe this thing. I didn't know how to describe it. It's what's the rule? And I'm like, the rule is that basically anything can happen.
That's it. That's the rule. And this is what happened. Dude, they looked so good in this game. Both sides of the ball. They tore Louisville up, man. It was nice to see. It was fun to see.
How do they keep doing this, man?
And it was an ugly game in the rain, thunderstorm. It was an ugly football game. And Pitt was like, oh, we love to roll around in filth. And they did it, and they won the football game. Just incredible. It's been a while since we got a true Pitt sighting, a Pitt experience, because they were good.
Actually, they were solid the last couple of years. They were really good.
They won the ACC 2 years ago. They were good,
Yeah.
So it's nice when Pitt can come back and be consistent with that. So that was fun to see. Duke 24, NC State 3. This is just your weekly reminder. Duke is legit. And then Virginia Tech 30, Wake Forest 13. I put this here because this is a massive win for Virginia Tech. They are really struggling in terms of building the program back up, and they have way too good of fans to not have a game like this every once in a while. So I just put this here because it's nice to see a fan base that is clearly struggling, clearly going through a rebuild. It's nice to see that fan base have something like this, So that's why I put this here. In the American, Tulane 31, Memphis 21. That's a Friday night score. This was a good football game. I caught bits and pieces of it. Elsewhere in the American, UTSA 41, UAB 20. And FAU 56, USF 14. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new American team in the state of Florida that dominates the Bulls. That was a lot to get there, but
that was what a lot of qualifiers in that one.
Listen, I took the plane off with only one engine, but I landed it, and so that's what we're gonna go with. All right, this was a fun game to watch, man. This was on the 4 box the same time as the Gator game. I did not watch this game after like halfway through the third because, as you know, the Gator game was very anxiety-inducing, and so I focused my whole attention there. So great game, great win, backup quarterback in as well. FAU and UTSA, they got a matchup this Saturday in Boca. It's going to be a fun one. To the Sun Belt we go. Coastal Carolina 27, App State 24. What's up with App? They're not who we think they are.
They are addicted to playing in close games.
How do you play North Carolina that close in multiple years and then drop to a Coastal Carolina team where Jamie Chadwell is no longer the coach?
I don't know, man. Like, I truly don't have an answer for this. They're just weird. It's like how Boise kind of lost their mojo. App State hasn't lost its mojo, but it's just different, you know?
It is. Elsewhere in the Sun Belt, Troy 19, Army 0. Georgia Southern 41.
Troy's back, baby. Troy's defense is back, baby.
they played Army. Georgia Southern 41, Marshall 24, Texas State 21, Louisiana Monroe 20. I put this here because Texas State filled out their stadium. They had 28,000 people there. That's really good for a Sun Belt team in the state of Texas that shares a city with UT Austin. That's a big deal. That is a really big deal. Good for them. To the Mountain West we go. Fresno State 37, Utah State 32. That was Friday night score. Fresno State ends up winning even though they didn't have Mikey Keene, who was injured out at quarterback. UNLV 45, Nevada 27, San Jose State 52, New Mexico 24, Colorado State 31, Boise State 30. That was tough to watch late at night. Yeah. Because Colorado State, as we know, is not the best football team. They're not a bad team, but they're not the best. Boise's got to win that game, and they didn't, and it's unfortunate. San Diego State 41, Hawaii 34. And I put the Big Ten last this week because this was an embarrassing slate of games. Michigan 51, Indiana 7, Ohio State 41, Purdue 7, Penn State 63, UMass 0.
No. Penn State had a bye week. I'm joking.
I know. All this talk about the SEC's Cupcake SoCon Saturday, and it's my brother in Christ, your Big Ten schedule has 2 games on it.
Well,
literally 2 games.
I don't know anything about Penn State or Michigan. Truly, I don't. Other than they're good, and until they play that gauntlet, I know a little bit about Ohio State because they played Notre Dame, but I don't know anything about these teams because they haven't played anyone who remotely matches their caliber.
It's insane, dude. It's not even close. It's crazy. Rutgers 27, Michigan State 24. I will say Rutgers potentially bowling. We could see a bowling Rutgers.
Talk to your kids about it.
Talk to your kids. Illinois 24, 27, Maryland 24. Big yikes for Maryland. You can't drop this game.
Illinois is not good. and then you lost to them.
And then in the oh my god, can it please just end game of the week? Iowa 15, Wisconsin 6. Oh my god, is this football? Let's seriously, is this?
I'm
football?
pretty sure this is rugby.
Does Iowa play football, or do they play some Rutgers? Rugby rules game that they think is
the best way to explain it. Here's the best way to explain it. Iowa doesn't play football. What they do is they don't allow other teams to play football. That's the way that Iowa builds itself. It's just we're not going to let you play football.
Dude, it's the one person at the craps table that plays the don't pass line. 7 people might get that reference, but only my fellow gamblers. But so when you play craps, there's a pass line, and that's what everyone plays. And it's okay, everyone's playing the pass line. And then there's the don't pass line where if the number that people are trying to roll, if the number that is 7 and 11, I'm just going to say it. 7 and 11 are the numbers that end the round. The don't pass line is betting on the 7 and 11. You're betting on everyone else to lose their money. So you're shorting it. That is Iowa. It's we want to watch football, Iowa. We don't want to watch you prevent people from playing football.
Most teams try to do is make themselves is be good. That's the thing. Iowa is on a mission to make everyone else in college football bad.
They bring you down. They're Hades.
like,
they bring you down. That's
to their
what
credit, I really do want to credit them. This is one of the best defenses in the country, and it has been.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's a great defense.
Their offense is somehow worse than last year.
But
Somehow.
you can't put together 21 points. Like I don't. Anyway, whatever. That was the Big Ten. We're gonna go into 5 wide and 2 point real quick here, Tyler. Before we spend some time at Florida Corner, we will stay in the Big Ten for the first 5 wide and 2 point game of this week. Penn State is taking on Ohio State. Top 10 matchup. Penn State is number 7. Ohio State's number 3. Noon kickoff on Fox. This is the big Fox. It's the big noon Saturday. There we go. Kickoff game. It is at the Horseshoe in Columbus, Ohio. Tyler, I go first this week because you get first pick at 2 point. This is going to be interesting. Here's the thing. I can't really preview this game fully because I don't know what Penn State is.
Right?
You're right. You were right. For that reason, I'm going to take Ohio State because I've seen them win and sneak out a tough game. And like we said before, what I said before is the game-winning touchdown drive for that Notre Dame game. What's the Ohio State quarterback's name?
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord. Thank you very much. Kyle McCord had a big boy drive. That was a big boy drive, and I think if he can do that against Notre Dame on the road, it's the only thing that I've seen from either of these two teams that gives me confidence to make a pick. So, and I'm sure. Listen, I know Drew Aller is good. I think he is good. And once again, Penn State's issues the past few years were at the quarterback position with Sean Clifford, and he is definitely an improvement from Sean Clifford. So if logic stays, they should be a better and improved team. But this game isn't a whiteout at Happy Valley, where I would probably lean Penn State. This game's in Ohio State at Columbus. I'm going to take the Buckeyes because they're the sample size that I've seen. And if I'm going to pick first, I'm going to go with the thing that I have a good idea about rather than the complete unknown. I kind of hope I'm wrong. Like I would like a world where Penn State beats Ohio State and we get some shake up in the Big Ten.
They've been the least talked about top 10 team in the nation because they truly have played nobody.
I think that's Michigan, but
no, because
it's the same division.
All we do is talk about how we don't know anything about Michigan. Nobody even talks about Penn State.
That's true. That's true.
This thing, all we talk about is like, Michigan, probably one of the best teams in the country. We're gonna find out in 6 weeks. But for Penn State, people are like, I mean, the best team that they played is Iowa, which they beat 31-0.
And we just spent 2 minutes just eviscerating Iowa.
Yeah. So here's my situation.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, this to me is a toss up because I don't like.
No, I
just don't know enough, and because you went Ohio State, I'm going to go Penn State.
Okay.
It's the thing. I think Drew Aller. This is going to be the first big test, but I think Drew Aller is good enough to give them a chance because that was always the thing with like Sean Clifford era is that Sean Clifford didn't really give them a chance to win this game, even though they have the talent. I think we're going to find out, but I'm going to go with Penn State because truly, to me, this is a coin flip.
I'm excited for this game. I'm going to be up with the boys watching some college football, watching some UFC. There's a big card on Saturday. So I'm very excited.
It's nice to, at week 7, still get to learn something.
Yeah.
Because we largely know what these teams are by now.
Mm-hmm.
And learning things at this point is a matter of things about the team changing. No, we get to actually learn what these teams are at this point.
Yeah. Nice. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun game. Moving to the SEC, the 3:30 game of the week on CBS. Number 17 ranked Tennessee heads to Tuscaloosa, take on the number 11 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Tyler, you get the first pick on this one. Who do you got?
All right, so it's at Alabama.
Correct.
Alabama has really both these teams are one loss.
Who did Tennessee lose to?
The Florida Gators, the Fighting Florida Gators.
Thank you for the reminder. I wasn't aware.
Tennessee won for the first time in I don't know forever. Last year at home, crazy game. Hendon Hooker
it was like 20
out.
years. It was like 20 years.
Insane game. So happy for them. What a come down for both teams on the quarterback level, from Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker to Jalen Milroe and Joe Milton, who are both physically gifted. What's the thing? Tennessee has a really good defensive line. And that's actually an area where Alabama's really struggling. They just cannot pass protect. Alabama's kind of figured out what they are, and it's pretty limited, but they've got the defense. The defense is good. They've got the playmakers, limited kind of offensive variety. But Tennessee's in the same boat. They're kind of mirror teams of each other, if you really think about it. They have a big arm and limited quarterback who can run, but really the bread and butter is the running game. And, they're just not as good as they were last year. So in that case,
to me tells me the question is, who do you think is more equipped to stop the run? This is
where I go to. It's at Bryant Denny, Nick Saban in a team where both of these are basically the same. Nick Saban's on one side. They're at that Nick Saban at home. And additionally, I do think Alabama's defense is a little better than Tennessee's defense. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with Alabama.
I can see why you do that. I am going to go Tennessee.
Ooh.
And it's because I really, really like what I saw from the Tennessee running game. And no, seriously, I agree with everything you said.
This is giving me. I'm excited.
This is the blueprint on how to beat Alabama this year. Texas gave it to us, right? It was run the football, open it up over the top, throw it deep. That's like literally what Tennessee's built to do. It's what they want to do. And I think Tennessee is good at doing that. I agree with you. The quarterback drop off from last year's game to this year's game is interesting on both sides for both teams. But I just think schematically this is set up for Tennessee. I don't think this is a long-term thing where it's like Tennessee's going to go on a run now, beating Alabama in the next 7 years. No, not happening. But I do think in this particular game, I'm comfortable putting one out there to say, okay, this could happen, So that's my pick. Next up, number 16 ranked Duke. They head to Tallahassee to take on the number 4 ranked Florida State Seminoles. 7:30 Eastern kickoff on ABC. This is a night game at Doak, which it's been a long time since they had a big boy night game at Doak. Is game day going to be here? 7:30 on ABC? Big time game?
Find out.
Let's see. Podcasting. Where is game day in week 8 from the Columbus
Great
Dispatch?
podcasting. Excellent.
Fantastic.
Well, while you do this, I pick here, so I'm going to go ahead and go into analysis.
Go ahead. While you do that, the Ohio State Penn State game is going to be game day.
That makes sense.
Along with big noon kickoff, they're going to be both.
That makes a lot of sense. Duke versus Florida State. The big thing with Duke, the question here, I actually do because I don't know it off the top of my head, is Riley Leonard going to play? Because he did not play last week. He's been injured since the Notre Dame game. Duke's still very solid. Defensively, they're very good. Them being on the road is not work really well in favor for them, considering it's unclear to me. I don't know if Riley Leonard's going to play. Florida State's been pretty consistent. There was a period where they were having to win some close games, and now they've been really kind of opening it up. And I do expect Duke's defense to give them real fits in this game. I do. Mm-hmm. However, I'm going to go with Florida State for this. I think that they've got the horses to struggle and still eke it out because I'm not sure if Riley Leonard's going to play. Like, I'm not betting on Duke if he doesn't play. If he does, they have more of a chance. But because Riley Leonard is good. But
Tyler, here's my logic. Who can stop Keon Coleman?
The Grim Reaper. That's about it.
Cool. I'll take Florida State. There you go. I agree with everything you said. It's just for me the whole let's be real here. They're not stopping Keon Coleman. No. He's going to do what he wants. So he might legit be the best wide receiver in college football. He legit might be. So moving forward, number 14 Utah takes on number 18 USC. 8:00 Eastern on Fox. This is. Oh my gosh. Buddy. Okay. All right. If you're unaware, Utah, they kind of have a thing that they do, and that thing that they do is the thing they do is they beat Pac-12 teams that are on a run when they least expect it, and then they end up in the Pac-12 title game, and then somehow they win the conference because they just beat the teams in front of them, but they have incredible timing when they do it. Not ideal for USC coming off a big rivalry loss. In their benefit, it is a home game for USC, but we do remember last year's Utah game and how crazy it was. And came down to the wire. Both editions, the in-season version and the conference championship version, both of which were won by Utah. I think I'm just going to keep going with the trend. I got to go with Utah.
I
haven't
have to go
seen
with
anything. I haven't seen anything that tells me that the USC defense is going to stop Utah in any way. And we know for a fact already that the Utah defense can contain the USC offense. So I'm not saying they're going to stop them, whatever. They still might score 35, but like it's going to be a competitive game and it's going to be a tough 35.
Well, it's one of those things where this is going to be an interesting story in the sense that Utah. So if USC had not had that Notre Dame game, I don't think USC would be doing anything differently. Like USC would be like, we're going to play our game and we're going to, but USC had that Notre Dame loss, which they lost in the way that if they lose to Utah, they're going to lose like that again. Not maybe exactly with the turnovers, but like with the defensive line and the defense just blowing up your offense.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting to me to see what USC does to fix that issue. That's going to be an interesting game plan script for me. Yeah. That being said, when the reason you've lost is largely personnel based with your offensive line and a little bit play style, but it's largely personnel based, I'm not really inclined to see that 1 week is going to fix that. I'm going to go with Utah as well.
I also think, like, when have we seen that USC can make defensive adjustments? Let me rephrase that. When have we seen that Alex Grinch can make defensive adjustments that'll put his team in a position to win a football game when knowing he has the best offensive mind in football on the other side of the ball with him? I haven't seen it. I don't think it's going to start now. So, final game in 5 wide: Clemson versus Miami, unranked matchup, 8:00 Eastern kick on the ACC network. But we put this here because this is interesting, right?
Interesting.
We're at a crossroads here, both with Clemson and Miami. I did mention earlier in the episode, Miami fans, be patient. This is going to be a good season and all that stuff. Clemson fans, however, Clemson has not looked good. This reminds me, what was that year where Clemson also dropped out of the top 25? It was a few years ago.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago.
And it was brief. It was brief, and then they came right back. And I think they still won the conference that year. But like
they won the ACC, but they were like a 2 or 3 loss team, so they were eliminated from playoff contention.
Right, but like I don't think that this is.
It wasn't last year. It was the year before that. I think.
I lied. They didn't win the conference. They made the conference championship game, but Pitt beat them.
Really?
Yeah, that was 21. That was 21.
Wow.
So this is a thing. This is a trend now, right? Like we're seeing Clemson kind of not fade backwards, but like we're definitely checking some signs of life, right? Like what's going on with the program? I think the whole we hired Bryles to come in. Was it who's the coordinator that hired? Was it Bryles? Right?
No, it was Garrett Riley.
Garrett Riley, thank you. We hired Garrett Riley to run the Clemson offense. Like that statement is looming very large over this entire situation for me personally. You pick first. What are you thinking, and what do you make of Clemson and Miami?
It's tough because Clemson's pretty much owned Miami the last several years whenever they do play. Largely that had to do with the state of the program. And I do think that I think the best unit here is Clemson's defense. In my opinion, the best unit on the field of the 4 of them. Second, I think would be Miami's offense.
Okay, but I can see that.
I think there's a drop off after Clemson's defense. The next best. I think Miami's offense is the best. Then probably Miami's defense. Then probably Clemson's offense. That's probably the worst of the. Clemson's offense can score points. They've actually been competitive in a lot of their games. They were bad against Duke to open the season. This team took Florida State to overtime. Rather, Florida State took them to overtime and won it. Then they've kind of struggled Clemson's kind of they didn't look that great against Wake. They kind of beat up on Syracuse. They beat up on the FAU Owls, which I know is a source.
We don't have to do that. We don't talk about that.
Whereas Miami, they lost the last 2 games. One kind of on a fluky coaching decision, and one at UNC, which looks like it's an ACC championship contender.
And we did say that this first half of that game last week was a really good performance for Miami.
Yeah. See, I'm so torn because I want to pick Clemson. I do. But I think Miami is a more balanced team. I think that like Clemson's defense is the best unit on the field. It's going to give Miami fits, but I think that I think Miami has a better chance of scoring on them because Clemson's offense just can't seem to get out of its own way.
Yeah.
So and it has nothing to do with Miami's defense, which is not as good as Clemson's defense, but I don't know. So I'm going to go with Miami.
I too am going to go with Miami, and it's for the similar reason that I picked Notre Dame last week. I think that Miami is good enough where they have improved enough in that program where I don't think they lose 3 games in a row anymore. And I know that the Georgia Tech game was weird, wonky. We talked about UNC game. I don't think that happens to Miami. And we can make fun of the lack of a home field advantage that Miami has, but at the very least, they don't have to travel. Like, you know, they can be home, they can sleep in their beds, they can have a home game day routine that they have. And, you know, I just don't see them losing 3 games in a row like that, especially since when they were good, like when they've been good this season, they've been really good. Like they have been playing good football. So I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to say that. So I'm going to take Miami. And I'm just not as high on Clemson. I think that Florida State loss really took a lot out of Clemson in terms of purpose for the season, momentum, motivation. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
for that reason, I'm going to take Miami. I can't believe that. That's kind of crazy given where we are. But
a little bit.
Whew.
I mean,
All right,
I think it's toss up to which one of these two teams will be better next year.
Agreed.
Because Clemson's so talented.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't just go away like that, you know.
Correct.
But for this season, I agree.
Yeah. Tyler, do you have a 2-point conversion you'd like to share?
Oh boy,
with us?
I have many options.
I have
many options. There's some interesting games this week. In a 2-point way.
Yes. Here's the thing. When I was going through the rundown, or I was going through the games, putting together the rundown today, I was like, there's so many fun games, but like fun meaning you and I would like them, and you know, college football sickos would be like, oh, that's gonna be a fun game. Like Wisconsin, Illinois, I'm low key kind of want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Northwestern Nebraska, kind of want to see how Nebraska does there. Pitt and Wake looks like a cool one. Oklahoma State, West Virginia, very intrigued on that one. Texas at Houston, very fun and intriguing to me. Texas Tech at BYU, very intriguing to me. TCU, Kansas State, very intriguing to me. I'm like just listing games here, dude. It's a fun. Army is going to LSU. That like what?
Yeah.
So all those
How'd
games,
that
Tyler,
happen?
I don't know how that happened. You pick first. So who do you want?
I'm debating between two different bottom dweller games. And I've picked against one of them before, so I'm gonna go with the other one. I'm gonna have the Arkansas Razorbacks, who've lost their last 5 games by pretty much an average of a touchdown.
That's crazy, dude.
Like, okay, they lost by 3 points, 7 points, 12 points, 3 points, 7 points.
Yeah, you'd say that's about a touchdown.
Yeah, they're playing the other worst team in the SEC West, Mississippi State. And the only reason Arkansas is below them in the rankings is that they've lost one more game because they've played, I think, one more game. So
it's the only reason that they're low.
The stoppable force versus a movable object. Like this is. I like that. What I will say is that like Mississippi State and their losses for the most part have looked bad, other than the South Carolina game where they were competitive on offense. Arkansas has lost close in every single one of their games. This is one of the few ones where they're not at a talent disadvantage.
Right.
At worst, it's a wash. I actually think I actually think Mississippi State probably is better talent. But Mississippi State's offense this year, just not running the air raid style that they're used to. I'm going to go with Arkansas. I'm going to go with KJ Jefferson's Superman plays to finally do something.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to have some fun. I am going to start a petition that James Madison is allowed to play in the postseason. And this game that I'm picking is Thursday, October 19th. Listeners, you're hearing this either Wednesday night or Thursday morning because I do the editing, and it would have been out earlier this week, but at the time you're listening to this, I went to go see the 1975 on Tuesday, so couldn't edit Tuesday night like I planned. Sorry. Gonna go see my favorite band. Alas, you're hearing this episode either Wednesday night or Thursday morning, which means that you have just enough time to hear my 2-point pick of James Madison heading to West Virginia to take on Marshall. 7:00 Eastern kick on Thursday night, ESPN. This right here is the people's college football game. Nothing better. I really like Marshall. I know that they lost last week and they're 4-2, but they're playing really good football. And Tyler, we haven't talked about like the players on James Madison. Do you know who their quarterback is?
Actually, I don't.
Jordan McLeod.
Really?
Do you remember where you know Jordan McLeod from?
Give me 2 seconds. I can find out because I don't off the top of my head.
I don't remember. So he started his career at USF. He was the quarterback that replaced who's the guy that was
Quinton Flowers?
He's the guy that replaced Quinton Flowers. Then he transferred to Arizona for the 2021 season. And now he is at James Madison as their starting quarterback, and he is balling as JMU's starting quarterback. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. I'm glad to see that you followed up on my James Madison principle.
Listen, if the NCAA won't give them attention, I will give them attention. We will do our part here on Sideline Judgment to get them to pay attention. So yes, JMU over Marshall for me. So to recap, 5 wide and 2-point. Penn State takes on Ohio State, noon Eastern on Fox. Tyler has Penn State. I have Ohio State. Tennessee takes on Bama, 3:30. Dun, CBS game of the week. I have Tennessee. Tyler has Bama. Duke takes on Florida State, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. We both have that school out west. Utah takes on USC, 8:00 Eastern kick on Fox. We both have the Utah Utes. And then Clemson against Miami, 8:00 Eastern on the ACC network. We both took the Miami Hurricanes. Tyler's 2-point is Arkansas over Mississippi State, which is a noon kickoff on Saturday at ESPN. And I took James Madison to beat Marshall on the road, 7:00 Eastern kickoff on ESPN on Thursday, October 19th. Who is the NFL counter programming James against JMU?
Oh, you know who it is.
I don't know who it is.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to make you double screen. I'm going to make you put
are.
up 2 screens. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
it's fine. I was going to go to a bar to watch it anyway. I'll just be like, hey, can you throw up ESPN?
Can you put this one on ESPN? Yeah.
It's like, James, what is it? What's a James Madison?
It's a Duke.
It's like, it's not important.
It's can I please have another beer? That's
and I will be. I'll buy another beer if you turn the game on.
Please.
Nobody else is in this bar to watch the Jaguars play the Saints. So
no, not at what 5 o'clock in the LA.
Funny story. I ran into several Florida alum at this bar that I went to watch the Florida game. That was not a Florida bar. It was just a general college bar.
Okay.
Like several of them that were like went there. We're not really like weren't there to watch the Gator game. They were just there. People were just like, I went to Florida. I was like, this is insane.
That's cool.
I never have that luck with Jacksonville Jaguars games.
You guys are a chosen few. You guys are a chosen few.
We don't want you guys. By the way, do you want to know what my backup 2-point was going to be?
Was it going to be Oklahoma over UCF?
No, I did think about that though.
Or was it going to be the Roadrunners over FAU?
I did also think about that.
Okay.
No, it was going to be Cincinnati getting their first conference win over Baylor.
Well,
at home,
it didn't work for UCF, so I don't know if it's going to work.
You know, that would mean that UCF would still have a perfect record, and that they would have a 0 in one of their columns. It would be the win column in conference, but it wouldn't be, But that's what matters to them. Once again, really I am not petty. I'm just
really
observing.
Good. I can't wait to go. I can't wait. Next year, we've had preliminary talks in my friend group. Next year, I'm trying to convince everyone to go to the Florida UCF game in Gainesville at the Swamp. And then also, I would like to also go to a UCF game next year as well. I don't know which game it would be or whatever, but I want that to be the 2 trips we take as a friend group this year. So It'll be the only thing to get Alexa to go back to Gainesville because she's not a fan of Gainesville. So that might be the only thing. Tyler, 5 minutes max. We've gone really long on this episode, but for good reason. There's a lot of good storylines. Let's talk Florida Corner. Let's walk to the fridge to pick up our drinks while we head back to the car. Continue the road trip. 5-2 heading into the bye week. Thoughts in the first half?
Better than I probably anticipated. The Utah game was tough, but about what we thought. Kentucky was the really low point. It's not that it was a loss; it's that it was non-competitive.
My phrase for the first half of the season is highest of highs, but lowest of lows.
Yeah,
like it was up. It was a roller coaster.
Truly,
up and down this year.
But the team has looked more consistent. The team has looked more consistent than I thought they would, primarily because of three things. The defense has been good. Graham Mertz has been good. The wide receiver room has become more talented. And with those things, I think that you see that, like the one against Tennessee, excellent game plan. The one against South Carolina, just so many things. Vanderbilt took care of business. Against the FCS team that we faced, as well as there's another win in there somewhere.
Our wins are Charlotte, Tennessee, McNeese.
Oh yeah, so Charlotte,
Vandy, and South Carolina. Yeah.
So if the team played Utah now, I think they would have put up more of a fight. It's just tough. I love big week 1 opening games. I really do. The tough part is that a lot of times that's why you schedule cupcakes early, is because you are figuring things out. There's just no way to simulate being in an actual game until you're in it.
This is literally the reason the SEC's hasn't officially announced a schedule where they add an extra game or whatever, because programs are kind of backhanded complaining of hey man, we need somewhere to schedule a tune-up. It can't just all be SEC because we need somewhere to figure out who we are, a game to get the younger players in, to get them some experience so they're not really cold going into subbing in an SEC game kind of thing. It's gonna be it's difficult, like you said. Those and it's some of those games are being substituted by those non-conference opening big games of the year. But
that's what you got to deal with. That's what you got to deal with. So I'm not complaining. That's just the situation. This team is in a better spot than I thought they would be in going into the bye week.
I agree. You want to play a modified version of the game?
Yeah.
And I say modified because I think what we can do is, for the sake of this exercise, I hope we're wrong, but for the sake of this exercise, the Gators lose to Georgia. Okay? So that puts
give us a chance that I never had thought possible. I'm not.
But even then,
that's a chance.
We're going to need some Mike McNeely stuff.
Yeah.
Not that specific, like a trick
talent.
play.
So
something needs to happen. There's always something that happens in this game. This game and Oklahoma and Texas are probably the only rivalry games, not only that are neutral site every year and tradition and all that stuff, but 50-50 down the middle. But they're probably the only games left where no, anything can happen in that game. It doesn't mean that anyone can win the game. It means that within the game, something's going to happen. Stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we just need that to go our way to be able to, hopefully pull up an upset. So for the sake of this argument, we lose 5-3. For the sake of this argument, I'm chalking Arkansas up as a win at home.
6-3.
I think that's for the sake.
Here's the reality, though. It's got to come there.
Yeah.
To me, it has to come there. To me, that is the biggest must-win game of the season.
Arkansas is. Let's confirm we're going bowling. That's the game.
You have to win that game.
Yes,
agreed. More honestly, truly, more than any of the other rivalry games, because everybody understands that those teams are in a way better situation than you're currently in. You're in a bit of a rebuild. None of them are.
Right.
But Arkansas is bad.
Yeah.
Arkansas is worse than us, and we're at home. So you have to win that game. But I believe that they will, especially with what I'm seeing now. The biggest criticism, though, that you have to say, Billy Napier, one of the biggest criticisms, the team cannot handle momentum one way or the other.
It's tough.
It's really time to see if that. It's not about the winning against Georgia. It's about, can they carry the momentum of playing well,
right?
And if they can continue to carry that.
Agreed. Also, you guys are getting those god awful black jerseys you wanted. So that's the
players
day.
are gonna feel great. The players are gonna feel
you know what's
feel
great
good,
now
play
that
good, baby.
I'm just realizing this now. I'm going out of town. I'm going out of town multiple times in the next few months. I'm going to Chicago for work next week, literally. So that'll be cool. That's during the week though. That's like Sunday to Wednesday. And then the weekend of that Arkansas game, I'm going to be up in Virginia because that's the same day as Bedlam, the final Bedlam. I'm flying up to go hang out with my mom, Raul, Diego, nice cool family get together. I'm going to spend the weekend. I just realized that like probably low key the most important game of the season we have left is that Arkansas game because of what you said, the rivalry games, and Missouri is another conversation for another time. But like, we got to go 6. We got to get to at least 6. And so given the timeline of the rebuild, I'm going to be able to watch that game with like my family, and like college.
They can give you some of that juju.
Looking for that juju. It'll be a good offsetting from having to maybe get a new pair of glasses because they'll break looking at those ugly black jerseys. So
you are a menace.
Okay, listen. I want to emphasize once again. I don't think we need black jerseys, but if you were gonna do black jerseys, make them look nice. Like these, just
I think they look good.
They look like the Pee Wee football team designs that didn't end up being the ones used. Okay, they look like the high school kid in the graphic arts department designed something and brought it to coach, and the coach felt bad, so he just made the uniforms anyway.
I don't think it's that bad.
The Gators thing in the front is horrendous.
Okay, well, all right.
And the stripes look like those ugly Miami stripes that we make fun of.
I can't
Am
argue
I wrong?
with that. I can't argue with that. But
The
we'll see
Gators,
how it looks.
The Gators
we'll
men's
see how it
basketball-
looks.
The basketball team, those black jerseys, those are nice. I'm a fan of those jerseys.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll see how it looks.
6-3 with a loss to Georgia and a win to Arkansas. We have 3 games left at that point. At LSU, I'll be in New York that weekend. Hopefully, Alexa and I being distracted from whatever happens in that LSU game.
Yeah.
LSU, Missouri on the road, home against Florida State. Is it too much to say that if we will go into those 3 games 6-3, is it too much to say that we can win 2 of the 3, or should we just hope for 1 of the 3?
I don't think it's too much to say, but you should not expect to win 2 of those 3. If for nothing else than 3 really good teams, 2 of which will be on the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing. It's just like,
and ironically, the team that you have the worst chance of beating, sorry guys, it's true, FSU. It's at home, so at least you have that.
Here's the thing, Sergio. I disagree. I think FSU is the most beatable of those teams for the situation that Florida's going to be in.
Okay, so for me it's LSU.
I could see that. Is it Missouri's tough because like Missouri's on the road.
We both just put so much respect on Missouri's name, like unintentionally.
Missouri's the tough one to me because it's almost like you won't be playing in a crazy environment, which almost like this team to me needs to play in crazy environments because the whole point is that Florida needs to play in crazy environments, even if they're against them, because the whole point is that they've looked deflated when they're on the road. And if you go into Missouri, which all credit to them, that's not a crazy stadium to play in. Late in the cold against a good team that is solid everywhere, good on offense. Like with the road woes, which may have been solved this past week, but we have to see. I need to see more than one sample size, and we're not going to see it until LSU because I don't count Florida, Georgia. That's not a really true road game.
No, it's not.
But that's going to be tough to me because I feel like the whole point is that they need to get fired up, and that'll be a deflating atmosphere. LSU will be easy to get fired up. Like
I have a feeling. We know that Georgia's always a 3:30. I have a feeling Arkansas is going to be a night game because they want to debut the black jerseys, whatever. Do you think there's a chance that we get LSU at night as well? Like, are we going to have to deal with the whole Death Valley at night thing?
I do, but I honestly
somehow they only always break out for us.
I honestly don't even really factor that in as much. Like LSU's environment is crazy. It's awesome.
Well, I brought that up because you were saying you wanted to see them in like a crazy environment. I think that to me is as crazy and intense as it gets in the SEC.
I want, if they're going to go on the road, I want them to be a night game. I want what South Carolina had, which was a 3:30, but it was South Carolina always packs out that stadium.
Yeah.
And They need to
And
get
it got
up
dark
for,
as
they
it-
need to
yeah.
get up for these games, which they did this past
Mhm.
week. LSU, I think Florida State's to be, because it's at home. Billy Napier's Gators play way better at home this season. It'll probably be a night game. We'll see. But you have the chance to spoil a little bit of FSU's season. I honestly do think, now that we're getting more of this team, they don't match up horribly. You're not going to stop Keon Coleman, but you're just not. However, I mean, they'll have their chance. They'll have their share of facing escapable quarterbacks.
Mhm.
And FSU has shown that they can get into a close game. They can mess around and be in a close game. I think that at home, the at-home advantage is so big. I will say, the LSU game provides you the shootout potential that you just had with South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But Jaden Daniels is such a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler. And
yeah, I'm like looking at this last 5 games, and the quarterbacks are insane. Carson Beck is a really good quarterback. Carson Beck. After that, KJ Jefferson, the man that Nick Saban literally just described as one of the craziest freak athletes he's ever seen. Then you have Jaden Daniels. We just had a conversation on this episode about how we think that Jaden Daniels should get some respect for the Heisman conversation. Then you have somehow Brady Cook, who Eli Drinkwitz decided is going to turn into Trent Dilfer on the 2000 Ravens to like lead them to victory for some reason. And then you have another Heisman contender in Jordan Travis. Like, this is not,
and
all of this is going to be a test. Big test for the
most of these teams are facing you off a bye.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's right.
Now, Georgia, that doesn't really matter because we're also getting a bye, so that's wash.
And it's always that way. Like,
and like South Carolina just faced us off a bye, and we were able to come out with that game.
Mm-hmm.
LSU and Arkansas, and I think Missouri are all going to face you off a bye. This is just a really, really tough season. You got to have that Arkansas game. If we get one of those last 3, I'll be ecstatic. I'll be over the moon.
So which one? We'll close this out this way. 6-3 going into that, loss to Georgia, win against Arkansas. Which of the 3 do you want? Which of the 3 do you want, and which of the 3 do you think is the best to happen?
I want FSU the most
because we both want FSU. Like,
if not only for the rivalry, but to ruin their season.
Home, ruin the season. That is like faith in Billy Napier. That stamps Billy. Okay,
and
we're
I
behind
think
him next year.
For the energy going into the bowl season, that would be huge.
It would be a massive recruiting win.
Yeah, I mean they were in a close game last year. They were also in a close game with LSU last year, and we beat Missouri.
Mm-hmm. I think is that also the one you think will happen?
Give me a second. I'm thinking.
Because for me, I'll tell you right now, I think the one that I think will happen will be, I think it'll be Missouri. I know I talked about how I liked it as much, but I don't think our defense can stop Jaden Daniels. But I do think that Missouri's defense, I'm not so sure that they're going to be able to contain, especially if what we saw from Graham Mertz this past week is going to happen again.
If that's sustainable, that changes the way I feel.
I don't know if they can stop. I don't know if they can stop Ricky Pearsall. I don't know if they can stop Trevor Etienne. I don't know if they can stop Montrell Johnson. I don't know if they can stop a Graham Mertz that decides to tuck the ball and run. I don't know if they can stop that tight end that blew up last week. And who's 22 who made that catch?
Khalil Jackson.
Like, these guys are good. These guys are young, but they're good. I don't know if Missouri's defense can stop all of that.
So I think my biggest thing here is that the one I want the most is Florida State. Second, LSU. I want Missouri the least, just because it sucks to lose to them, but at the same time, I need the rivalry wins more. I do think Missouri is the most likely, not because I think we match up well with them necessarily, but because they very clearly, of those 3 teams, have the lowest talent profile, which means that they are going to be the easiest to face. Yeah. As much as LSU's defense is a problem, and as much as Florida State, I do believe in a rivalry game, we could drag them into a fist fight with us, and that the Gators have a chance to be victorious in that. Mm-hmm. As much as all that is the case, they still have talent on the offensive side of the ball that is just greater than what we have. And that doesn't mean that they're going to win. Yeah. LSU's more talented than Ole Miss, and they lost. However, Missouri's a better team, but they may not be a more talented team, which I think gives them that's the most likely one to catch that. Yeah. But I want Florida State the most.
Listen, man, I had a dream. I swear, last week I had a dream where we beat Florida State this year, and I was like, I woke up and was like, oh boy. All right, so 7-5. will you take 7-5? Looking at who the 5 losses are to at the end of the season, do you think a fan base is appeased? Is optimistic? What's the tenor after the season if we go 7-5? Because 8-4, I think for sure
8-4 is
the
the
optimism.
safest. 8-4, there's no denying it.
Because
7-5,
8-4 means that you beat one of LSU or Florida State or Georgia. We can throw it out there.
Yeah.
Or Georgia could be.
Yeah. 7-5. I think it depends on which game that 7th win comes to.
Yeah.
Because, well, first of all, if we miss a bowl game, if we don't get this 6th win, I can't predict what's going to happen. We know what we think should happen.
Yeah.
But I can't, because it wouldn't be anyone's fault. It's just the schedule is insanely tough this year. It's not going to be too much better next year. But
yeah, but for this moment against
this team will be better next year.
But for this moment against South Carolina to be the peak, and I'm looking at the 5 games right here, I don't see a world where we lose all 5 games. So
yeah,
if that happens, I definitely wouldn't say we fire Napier, but I definitely am concerned about Napier's position if we start not in the way everyone wants next year.
Yes. If we get 7-5, it depends, because if it's 7-5 and you beat LSU, but then you lose Missouri and Florida State, it's different than if you're 7-5 and you beat Florida State. It just is. Like it.
In which way?
In the reaction of the fan base, if we're talking about just what Gator, the question was what Gators fans would be like. Gators fans, like all fans, are fanatics and are very reactionary to the last thing that they saw. And if the last thing that they saw is Florida State, getting their season ruined or partially ruined by the Florida Gators at home, it's going to feel better than if it's the same record and we beat LSU in Death Valley, but then we lost the last 2 games of the season.
And I agree, but in this scenario, we would have wins over LSU and Missouri, which means that we would be in contention for the SEC East. What if for some reason Missouri beats Georgia, and you know what I mean? In that scenario,
that's completely different. But
what if we end up in Atlanta, but we lose to Florida State? You know what I mean? We won't end up with 7-5.
I absolutely agree, but we're not talking. But the question was a 7-5. Okay. You're not winning the SEC East to 7-5. No, that's not the question.
Good point.
Yeah, if we're in contention for the SEC East, that's completely different. But 7-5 means that you're only beating one. You're beating Arkansas and one of those last other 5 teams, which unlikely to be Georgia, one of LSU, Missouri, or Florida State. And all I'm saying is that if it's LSU or Missouri, it feels different than if it's Florida State. It's not. I would not judge it differently, but the fan base will judge it differently. And I don't think that's fair, but that we have to be honest. That's what's going to happen. I think Billy Napier stays out of the way because that's an over expectation than what everybody had this season.
Yes,
the Gators' win total by Vegas this season was 5.5. You just need to win one more, and you're hitting an over.
I did notice that in that entire situation, Tyler, as we transition to our outro here, you didn't mention the Georgia Bulldogs. What if? What if
anything's possible?
That whole scenario was assuming we lose to Georgia. What if, my friend? What if?
I truly think it's more possible than it was last year.
Yes, absolutely.
And we had an NFL draft prospect at quarterback last year, but that was a national title team. Now that this team is without Brock Bowers, and I don't know if it's for the season, but it's for sure against Florida.
For sure against Florida, and that's all. And in our eyes, that's all we care about right now.
Carson Beck is a good quarterback. They're more talented at every position.
Every position?
They're more talented at every position except for, I would say, wide receiver.
Running back? Running back? A couple of spots on the offensive line? A couple of pass rushers?
All right.
I'm not saying it's... I agree with you. As a whole, Georgia's a deeper, better, more talented. I get it. But when we start picking apart key players on both sides of the ball, I truly think it gets a little murkier. It's not as blanket Georgia domination as it's been in years prior. This whole Billy's 5-star recruiting stuff is starting to show its head in their young players. So I'm just saying there's a possibility here.
The situation. I mean, the thing that's tough here is that Kirby cares about this game more than probably any game on the schedule.
And good. I want my biggest rival to care about the game as much as we do.
So it's just the pure strategy. You have to also factor in the motivation. Forever.
For sure.
Now, here's the thing. We don't know what this offense is going to look like without Brock Bowers. Because for a large part of the season, specifically the Auburn game, which they almost lost, Brock Bowers was everything.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. He's an NFL draft. He's a first-round NFL tight end. What's that going to be like without him?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's the big question. Is Florida's defense for what they want to do going to match up better with what Georgia's doing? And without Georgia's top playmaker, is that going to create a situation? Is Graham Mertz going to continue to be efficient and not, make takeaways, play efficient ball? And now he's going to learn how to throw it down the field. Is
the playbook going to stay as diverse as it was in this last game as compared to how it was in the previous games in the season?
And these are great questions, and we will find out in 2 weeks. I never gave this team a chance to beat Georgia until this past week.
And I want to wrap it up there. And listeners, I'm sorry. I know we went really long today, but not only is this was our, mid-season check-in on the Gators, and we'll always spend a little bit of extra time on that. We want to give it the attention that we want and think it deserves. But this is the first time in a long time that I really felt proud of my football team. You know what I mean? It's probably been since the end of the good Mullen years, the second year. Since probably then that I really was like, oh, I'm proud. Watching the game with, my UCF fan friends, and they're sitting there, and at one point when it started getting dicey, we went down 10 points. My buddy Matt looked at me and he went, classic Florida. And I'm like, I don't want that to be that's not classic Florida. Classic Florida's incredible defenses. Classic Florida is throwing the ball all over the place, and Spurrier and Urban and the fun times with Will Greer that one year. And that's
even
Florida.
Those fun times with Mullen, because we had them, they were great.
Even the Muschamp era was still pretty fun with those incredible defenses. You know what I mean? Early on, that's what I wanted to be back. I wanted to feel how we felt at the Auburn game watching LaMichael Pirine break the run. I wanted to feel like the Tennessee games that we experienced, the things that launched this podcast. I wanted to feel that way, and so it was the first time in forever that I felt really proud of my football team, and I just am really excited for the direction because, like you said, man, this has the potential to be a program-defining game. And I know we're looking at it from a 50,000 square foot view and from a bird's eye perspective, but this can be that. This can be that, Tyler. And so that's why we spent a little extra time on the Gators, why we did this mid-season check-in. We're going to do something similar like this at the end of the season, right, Tyler? We always do a little moratorium. We'll assess the state of the program, all of these things in these conversations. But this week, the Gators are off, which means you have not only an excuse to go and do the apple picking and decide to go to that pumpkin patch so you can bank some points. You can also go in and watch so much incredible college football. Our 5 wide and 2 point is stacked. It's going to be a fun time. Tyler, is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off this episode?
Just that, it's mid-season. It comes and goes quick. I say this pretty much every week, but it's beautiful to be able to do this with you, Sergio. It's beautiful to be able to talk ball, all the good stuff.
It's episodes like this that make me love this podcast.
Me too.
We got to talk so many cool big things. Sorry to Nick Saban. We're gonna have to table that conversation for another week.
Yeah, we'll get you in at some point.
We'll get you in at some point. You're only the GOAT. What do you need from us, right? Oh man. All right, Tyler. We'll get out of here. This has been another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased, Tyler, but on this bye week and after that incredible game against South Carolina, we're not biased. Go Gators.
Go Gators.